This is the Four-Man Rush. Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to the Four-Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Timmy V.O., and I got the fellows with us today, Kevin, Larry, and Will. We're going to be talking about some OTAs. We're going to talk about primarily the NFC South and give you guys a preview on what to expect and what we've seen so far and their offseason moves and what to expect in that standpoint. And also, we're going to talk about some fan questions and some questions that we have for ourselves as we discuss our Carolina Panthers and the NFC South as a whole. So let's get down to it. Up first, we have Will, and he's going to break down the Tampa Bay Bucks, what the Buccaneers supposedly have up their sleeve. What do you think, Will?
We divided up the NFC South like a pig, and I ended up with the pig feet. Pig feet of the division. So we'll start with the bottom feeders, the Tampa Bay sucks.
Basement bitches.
But seriously, though, started with, they took a page out of Ron Rivera's playbook, and they got an offensive-minded coach that could try to help Jameis Winston the same way Norv Turner helped Cam Newton this year. As you remember, through the first 8 games, Cam Newton was putting up career-high passing numbers. You could just see an improvement in his, decision-making on the field. So I guess they hope that Bruce Arians, who I respect highly as an offensive mind across the league, they're hoping that he'll have that same impact on Jameis Winston. And, I think this team will go as far as Jameis takes them. I mean, it's his 5th year. They picked up his 5th-year option, so it's basically do or die this year. He's had ups and downs on and off the field, just showing a lot of inconsistency, immaturity. So, I don't want to hear any more excuses now. He's got the offensive mind in his corner. He's got good receivers with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, of course. I mean, O.J. Howard starting to break out. He's a mismatch problem and an athletic freak at tight end. And they re-signed Donovan Smith, their left tackle, to keep that continuity on their offensive line. And at the running back position, they returned Peyton Barber and their second-round pick from last year, Ronald Jones. So, their offense is capable. I think Jameis has everything he needs to succeed. And after this year, I don't want to hear no more excuses about why he can't do this or that. It's just all the cards are in his favor now. So this is, if there's ever a year we'll see him at his best, it'll be this one. On the defensive side of the ball, they had some unlucky events with Jason Pierre-Paul. Even though they're a division rival, you never want to see that happen to anybody. So we wish him a healthy recovery. They let Gerald McCoy go, which was interesting to me. He's kind of tortured us for so many years, and they replaced him with Ndamukong Suh. So, I don't know if that's an upgrade or a lateral move in that regard. But, there's still, Vita Vea, defensive tackle I was very high on coming out last year with Ndamukong Suh on that front line. They're going to be formidable. And from what I've read, going to be using more of a hybrid front, eat up the blocks to help those linebackers out. And I think that's probably the strength of the defense right now. You got Levante David coming back, and they got one of Larry's favorite players in this past draft with Devin White. So I think White and David's going to be a formidable linebacker group in the South for many years to come that we're going to have to deal with. And they also addressed their secondary in the draft, too. They took Jamel Dean, cornerback from Auburn, Mike Edwards, safety from Kentucky, and Sean Bunting, cornerback from Central Michigan. So it looks like that secondary and that back seven was a priority in the draft. Kind of go with that front line that they've been trying to build. So on paper, you got to respect what they've done this offseason. But, as far as the Bucks, they've always been the popular team that looks good on paper coming into the year. But once the season starts, they're the same old Bucks. So, we'll see what happens. So what do y'all think?
Yeah, I think they always look pretty good on paper, but it seems like they can never put it together. But you can't ever count your division rivals out, man. You just never know what's going to happen. Releasing Gerald McCoy intrigues me a little bit because I have a kind of a feeling that he'll probably want to stay within the division, maybe to get some payback. I don't know what our cap situation looks like or what kind of money he's asking for, but I know he could definitely be an asset, especially for what we're trying to do these days. As far as their draft picks, that kind of stands out with the Mel Dean pickup. That just tells me that you just added a lot of speed to your back end. I know they already had some good speed back there. As you mentioned, Will, I was big on Devin White, even though we didn't have a need for linebacker. I think he's one of those generational type guys like your Bobby Wagner, your Luke Kuechly's, and your even Levante David. So, like you said, they got a pretty formidable group on paper, but there still a sucks. So, I mean, I'm gonna focus on what we do best, and that's beating them every year.
What you think, Kevin?
Yeah, as far as my opinion on Tampa Bay, we got jokes and all, but at the end of the day, this is a division rival that was responsible for one of our divisional losses last year. As always, Fox try to buck. I'll say it like that. And try to keep it clean for our fans as much as possible, but they stand in our way of getting to the division. So I just think that with the moves that they made with the new era, seem like they got a new era every couple of years. This is like their like fourth, fifth coach since Rivera's been here, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a lot of turnover, a lot of crazy things. I call it the ghost of Lovie Smith because I think personally they did him wrong, but that's just my opinion. But anyway,
yeah.
But with the moves that they made, though, I mean, again, like we keep saying, on paper, I mean, they look like something serious, but for the past 4 or 5 years, they've always seemed to be the preseason champion in the NFC South as far as moves. I mean, the last 2-3 years, they've been picked as, playoff contender. And I think the best they've ever did was third place in 2016 when we had the honor of being fourth place. So, at the end of the day, you can have all the talent and players in the world, but for whatever reason, it hasn't mustered into a consistent winning formula. I do think they're going to be a threat that someone want to take very seriously. We're going to see them early and often. Again, the Thursday night game here in Charlotte right after open up week 1 against the Rams. And then we're going to have to deal with them overseas in London. So definitely going to be a daunting task. So it's something we cannot take for granted or cannot sleep on whatsoever. It's going to be a dogfight. They don't like us. We don't like them. But, they're definitely someone that if we bring out 100, our 100 is better than the 100, and I'll take that to the bank any day.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be faster on defense. That's for sure. So, Larry, I believe you scoped out the Atlanta Falcons. Sorry ass Atlanta Falcons. That's my fault, folks. I just feel that way. What's your breakdown on Atlanta there, Larry?
Well, I got about 25 reasons why they suck. Surprisingly so, they had a very, very similar offseason as us. They come into the season with similar concerns as us. I'll start off by saying, a lot of people think, this is a make or break year for Ron Rivera. He could be on the hot seat. Dan Quinn is definitely on the hot seat in Atlanta. I live out here. That's all the talk is about. They definitely expect some kind of a successful season for him to keep his job. You got some hints of that because he basically fired his whole coaching staff. He brought in all new guys, but the theme about that is most of the guys he brought in have former head coach experience. I'll start with Mike Mularkey. He's a former head coach. He brought him in to be a tight ends coach this year. Dirk Cutter, former coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks, who was also the OC for the Falcons a few years ago. They brought him back because I guess he had kind of a good rapport with Matt Ryan. So that tells you off gate that they definitely have an intention on getting back to the run game so they can open up that pass. Also, you'll notice that just like Ron Rivera is taking over play calls this season, Dan Quinn has fully assumed the role of defensive coordinator to the point where, he's relinquished almost all his other coaching duties. He's hired a game manager now. Like I said, he's got basically former head coaches in all the other rooms, so he can pretty much just focus on the defense. So that's pretty much about the staff shakeup. As far as needs in the draft, they had a lot of stuff. Well, on paper, they had the same draft needs as us. They wanted to get their defensive line better, and they wanted to come better and possibly upgrade their secondary. I don't think they had the draft that we had because, in free agency, they addressed the offensive line. They signed 2 guards, basically James Carpenter and I believe the other guy was Damon Brown. But they gave up a lot of money to pick up, a couple of guards so they can solidify their offensive line. Then draft day comes. You take a guy with a second round grade in Lindstrom from Boston College as your first round pick. They picked him at 14, and then they trade up into the first round to pick McGrary up from Washington, and he was probably like the fifth best tackle on the board. So basically, they gave up their second and third round picks, which was pretty much the meat of the draft, to reach on 2 players. So now they're going to Kent with, they're stacked at guard. So I take that as an L, in my opinion. One thing that they did a little bit differently from us is, we didn't pick up Verdon Butler, our previous first round pick. We didn't pick up his option this year. They picked up Vic Beasley's option, and he was actually graded the worst defensive end in the league last year, and they picked up that option. So Dan Quinn must see something. He must see something in him, to think that he can get the best out of him. And a lot of people were surprised that they didn't address the edge, but they got 2 first-round picks over there. None of them are producing. So this is a make or break year for Dan Quinn. Last thing I think that they had in common with us is, we're all focused on the health of Cam Newton. A lot of people view that as a make or break thing for us. If he's healthy, we can go to the top. If he's not, it's a season loss. They're concerned about their guys too. All their major guys are coming off injury. Keanu Neal, their Pro Bowl safety, he's coming off an injury. He missed all last year. Their version of Luke Kuechly, Deion Jones, is coming back off an injury. He played sparingly at the end of last season, but he really wasn't 100%. They let go of Tevin Coleman. So, the weight of the bulk of the run game is going to fall on Devonta Freeman, even though they drafted a little rookie running back. But injury-wise, they're really concerned about the health of their team, and going forward, that's going to be important if they want to make a run in the NFC South. What you guys think about it? How do you think they stack up against us?
I think the running back situation you mentioned concerns me. I like Devonta Freeman. Falcons stuff aside, if I just were to list my favorite players in the league, Devonta Freeman would be one of them. Just his running style, very quick, very powerful runner. But because of how hard he runs, he's always getting these concussion problems. So now you're going to let Tevin Coleman go and increase his workload, despite his concussion history. I don't get that. So, we'll see if he's able to carry the load with those recurring concussion issues. Yes, they do have Edo Smith, the guy they drafted last year, to kind of take some of that load off of him.
In the 4th round, they took a running back this year, a big bruising guy. I think his name is Allison. But he had a productive career up at, I think, Pittsburgh. He was over 1,000-yard rusher. Oh. He's a complete change of pace back. He's like 225 pounds. Oh, okay. Strictly bruiser. Didn't run a fast 40, but he's strong. He runs behind his pads. I guess they're hoping that might be able to be a 1-2 punch. But at the end of the day, it's a rookie. You don't know what you're going to get from him. So like you said, I still expect, they have a lot of expectations for Devonta Freeman. At the end of the day, he's still one of the highest paid running backs in the league. So, you gotta get him on the field. So, I think Devonta, just like Cam makes or breaks our offense, I think Devonta is going to be the factor if they want to have a successful offense, because their run game has to open up the pass.
Good point.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, he just got a bad habit of forcing balls to Julio. Sometimes in tunnel vision, he don't see the field thoroughly all the time. When you look at his 2016 season, he was doing a lot better job of spreading the ball around. I felt like won MVP and took them to the Super Bowl before they had that epic collapse. Defensively, it's about, can they stay healthy? Grady Jarrett, isn't he recovering from a injury still? They don't know if he's going to even be ready.
Yeah, he had a nagging injury last year, and that's one thing I also left out. They franchise tagged him, so it's not even to go that he stays a Falcon forever because they don't have the money to pay him. They're more focused right now is trying to extend Julio Jones because he said he wants a new deal or he's going to sit out. So it just seems like it's backwards. Like, I don't know. I think it's Thomas Dimitroff is the GM out there. They have $50 million a year invested into 2 positions. And that's why you have so many holes all over the field elsewhere. So, Grady Jarrett is franchise tag. We didn't play no games like that. When it was time to give KK his money, we gave him his money because he was important to what we do. I just feel like they still doing it backwards. They're just They were relying on two basically first-round draft busts to cover their edge, and they might not be able to pay, the guy that soaks up the middle, their Pro Bowl defensive tackle. So Dan Quinn's got a lot on his shoulders. I think he thinks he's going to be able to save his job, but it looks like he don't have the pieces to do it on defense. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, they've given us problems, though. I mean, we haven't won in Atlanta since, 2014?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, Obama was still president when we last won in Atlanta. So it's a streak we got to end this year. I think just stopping that offense has always been a challenge for us. But I think we with Dante Jackson being able to kind of match up with Ridley, and you got James Bradbury did a better job on Julio as he gets more experience. That's using prioritizing matchups in the defense. Maybe we see a better improvement in slowing that offense down this year. This just seems, once we get in that dome, the defense has been falling apart.
Indeed.
Well, I know what it comes down to, and I'll let Kevin touch base right after this, but when I look at the times that we do beat the Falcons, or, the times where we actually had our way with the Falcons, what do? We got after Matt Ryan. I remember Greg Hardy sacked him 7 times in one game. Like, that's how you beat the Falcons. You got to hit Matt Ryan often, early and often. And I think that we made the moves to possibly do that. And you can kind of tell that, they drafted based off what we did. We went and got Brian Burns. What did they do? Oh, let me trade up and get a bum tackle. Brian Burns is going to abuse that man, bro. He's not even in the same league as Brian Burns. But you can tell that they're trying to draft based off their divisional rivals. So I think we just got to get after the quarterback, man. Get after Matt Ryan, keep him on his back, and that can make things a little bit easier for us than it was last year.
Yeah, as far as, my viewpoint of the Atlanta Falcons, this is a pretty much became a regular game for me. I call it Bank of America South, you know what I'm saying, when we was winning, but kind of been a house of horrors. I was there for the 300-yard game, but yeah. Long ride back to Charlotte that day. But anyway, overall though, with the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, one thing I look at is, they're getting 2 big players back. They're, I don't know if he made all pro, but definitely Pro Bowler. Deion Jones, number 45, Neal, getting them 2 back who spent pretty much most of last season on IR, pretty much hurt the teeth of that defense. They pretty much controlled the middle, and it's just something that, with them coming back, that's going to definitely make their defense be more opportunistic, especially on the back end. But I see the Atlanta Falcons as a team that's still going to be in transition. We're talking about another round of coaching turnovers. We went through the same thing. 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years ourselves. So I just think that with the Falcons, we need to just primarily focus on just being able to just get at them, like I said, the quarterback, but just to reestablish that physical style. Another thing when we've won and had success against Atlanta, both home and away, we always came with that strong running game. We pretty much lined up, told them what we was going to run it at, and they couldn't do nothing about it. And I see that with the type of talent that we're gathering on our own offensive line, I think that we can get back to that type of mentality. But when you got so much money tied up into Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, as you guys already stated, and Julio's looking for more money, I think that catering to these high demands is going to do the undoing of the Atlanta Falcons, because you got all your money tied up in Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. So several of your key defenders, when your defense is already, average on its best day, is going to lose some guys. So I'm looking forward to sitting back and watching Atlanta crumble as they pretty much donate nearly 25% of their salary cap to 2 players.
I'm going ahead and say it right now. I think Atlanta's going to finish bottom of the NFC South. Quite frankly, because they didn't invest enough money into their defense to really be that much of a threat to stopping people consistently. I just don't see it.
I agree with you, Tim. It seems like they're all in on offense, but that's kind of how they got there a couple of years ago, man. They're trying to get back to being the top 5 offense, maybe in scoring. But like you said, man, you got Isaiah Oliver on one side, who pretty much looked like nothing last year. You know, guys picked on him all year. I expect the same thing to happen this year, even if there is some growth. He has some major flaws in his game. He let go of Robert Alford. You could tell he was an asset because he got picked up the day after they cut him. So, and also, this is the biggest thing. I forgot to tell y'all about this. They let Matt Bryant go. Y'all know how important special teams is, man. So they got an unknown, you know, as their kicker now.
Wow.
That can win and lose games for you. So it's a lot of question marks in that roster. And I kind of agree with you. They might finish at the bottom this year.
Well, nothing would do my heart better than, seeing the Atlanta Buzzards, get their just due. I mean, by them being our I-85 rival, because we share the same, stretch of highway, I hate all of my division rivals equally, but, it's something about them that just, by us being the only two teams in the division without a Super Bowl, they pretty much are the team that draws most of my bitterness and my petty. But from an X and O standpoint, again, they're probably gonna do nothing but cover 3. And we saw last year that with the short passing game how we was able to nitpick, but just found it hard to attack it vertically because there are holes in cover 3 when your quarterback can throw the ball. But Cam, for I don't know what happened in week 2, but he just seemed comfortable with his short game for the most part. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the game that Anderson popped the ball up and they picked it off when we was going for the go-ahead score.
That's true, and that's also the game where Cam was able to hit DJ Moore for his first touchdown. Man, that was deep over the middle. Perfect example of what you said. Slicing that cover 3 up.
The stiff arm.
Yep, that stiff arm, but he took that to the house almost. So
that was nasty. I love that.
I know we spent a lot of time in the Falcons, but I feel like you, Kev. I hate all my rivals equally, but I have to live here, man. I have to live in this Falcon country, man. I have to talk trash to these guys all the time. Every single day of my life, I remind somebody about 28-3. I just feel like that's, a national day in history. We blew a 25-point lead to Super Bowl.
Right.
So, I always got energy for the Falcons, man. But let's move on to the Saints. I think Kevin covered the Saints for us. See what they're trying to return from. I know they did a whole bunch of crying this offseason, got some rule changes on us and stuff like that.
They were protesting.
Quick, before I jump on the Saints, let me just get back to the reason why I have extra. My dad's side of the family is from Augusta, Georgia. And if any one of y'all been on my Facebook page, my cousin David Avery always be on that bull, talking mess and saying all this little stuff. So that's why my venom for the Falcons is just extra because I got family in Augusta and Atlanta that be, piping in my ears. So
it's personal.
Yeah.
It's definitely personal with these Falcons for all of us, man.
Yeah, seriously. But anyway, let's move on to these New Orleans Saints.
Who that?
So, man, I can't say it, but anyway.
Easy, big guy. Easy.
And I want the FCC to come down on us. You know what I'm saying? We ain't made it to the mountaintop yet. But,
indeed.
As far as New Orleans Saints, they've been a thorn in our side now, especially the last several years. They brought us some pain that we can enjoy. First it was the Minnesota Miracle in the 2017 playoffs where they gave up the scored a Diggs on with 10 seconds left, and then of course the Crygate game, against the Rams in the NFC Championship. So nothing like watching their pain brought me much joy than what's been going on with the New Orleans Saints for the last couple of years. But as far as this past offseason goes, Saints made a lot of transitions as far as with their roster. Now, mind you, they went in extremely tight with the salary cap. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Drew Brees was scheduled to make around a little over $30 million this year because they backloaded his contract. So it made it real tight. So they had to let some players go, like running back Mark Ingram, who gave us plenty of headaches, trying to tackle that big boy out of Alabama. But they replaced him, if I'm not mistaken, with Latavius Murray. So, they traded in that F-150 for a little bit of a Honda Accord here per se. with Alvin Kamara, he's still going to be the focus of the running game and part of that passing game. We're really going to see how this McCaffrey versus Kamara rivalry is going to really go to the next level, since more than likely he's going to be the workhorse. Another big change for the Saints was at center. They lost their longtime center, Max Unger, who, if y'all don't remember, was traded to them from Seattle with the Jimmy Graham trade. He pretty much was a stalwart for that offensive line. He retired. They replaced him with somebody that I wanted with the Panthers, Eric McCoy out of Texas A&M in the 2019 draft. So what you see going on with the Saints is they look like they pretty much wanted to just continue to add playmakers on offense and try to get more pressure with defense. Just looking at some of their roster moves here. I mean, on offense, they were able to sign tight end Jared Cook, to a 2-year deal. He's somebody that was doing real good with the Raiders last year. Also, they exercised the 5th-year option on defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins. He's not someone that's really – he's had his moments, but he's never been someone that's really been a problem for the Panthers, in my opinion. And I just, was just looking at the fact that they just tried to add pretty much speed on their defense, but nothing really stands out. And, oh, yeah, Panther fans, they cut the great Kurt Coleman. He's no longer with the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, I know, right? I mean, now that, we're changing up defense, I guess that playbook that he brought over with them is no longer of value. So they had to let them go. But, hey, good news, though. The Saints signed Wes Horton today to play defensive end. That is good news, Panther fans, because we all know, based on the 2018 version of Wes Horton, wherever he lines up at, run the ball his way.
Oh, man.
I promise you it'll be a first down.
Swinging gate.
But,
That's a fact, man.
yeah. And, another thing about the Saints, not only were they strapped for cash, but they were strapped for picks. They went into the NFL draft with only 4 draft picks, but, man, they took a couple of my favorites in the draft. I just stated about Eric McCoy playing center for them to replace Max Unger. And they got one of the more versatile defensive backs out the draft, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson out of Florida. I mean, this is a guy that looks like he's going to play nickel for them, but he played a lot in the slot at Florida. He has the versatility to play safety as well. So, I'm not too familiar with their defensive scheme. He could be someone that they move around, but based on, what's been seen so far in the offseason, looked like they got him playing the nickel spot. And they was also able to pick up a tight end, Elise Mack, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was out of Notre Dame. So, because they lost, what's his name? The Patriots just re-signed him, the tight end that they had.
You're talking about Ben Watson.
Ben Watson, yeah, that's it. So, so basically they're just trying to, pretty much add speed on defense and continue to have playmakers on offense. As long as they got the great Drew Brees, this is definitely going to be a team. This is the team that we got to bring the broom to them this year. 2 out of the last 3 years, they done broomed us, and I think it's time that we definitely return the favor. And if any time is a good time, I think this 2019 season will be something that will always be a dogfight. But I definitely think we can pull this out. We don't see the Saints until November 24th in New Orleans, and we close the season at home against them December 29th in Charlotte. So not the last 2 out of 3 like they did last year between weeks 15 and 17, but definitely it allow our team to gel and have our defense ready by the time we see the Saints come late November. So pretty much my outlook with the Saints is, hey, they're the division champs. They're looking to rebound. They're looking to try to get back. But I really don't see, with the changes that they made, that they're going to be able to replace what they lost. And I think that they're going to be a tough out, but they're not going to be as imposing as they have been the last few years.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time for some get back, man. It hurt my feelings, a couple of years ago they beat us twice in the regular season. Then knocked us out the playoffs. Then, played them the first time when it mattered this year. And, we lost a tight game to them. Then we didn't really we beat them when it didn't matter anymore. So, the Saints, I feel like we got unfinished business, man. We got to definitely get back to beating them down on the ground. I think there's still going to be a tough out, like you said, Kev, mainly because that, with all the turnover, you still got that trio intact. You still got Breeze, you still got Kamara, you still got Michael Thomas. Those guys are all Pro Bowlers, so definitely got to put an emphasis on stopping. Just like the Falcons, I think the way you beat Breeze is, give him pressure right up in the middle, right up in his face. So, looking at us as a team, I feel like we addressed our biggest issues, man. We got to get after the quarterback. And I think those are the only ways you can beat teams like the Saints and teams like the Falcons. That's pretty much it that I have with them. Greg Little, was a good asset for us because it's all about protecting our quarterback. Cam Jordan has been a thorn in our behinds the past few seasons. So, definitely got to address that. I feel like we did that. So as far as matching up against the Saints, I think we made some power moves. We put ourselves in a position to beat them. So I just want to see it all come into formation. I got to make sure that we actually get this done so I can get back to talking smack to some of my Saints fans, I got some Saints friends I'm pretty close with. I've been quiet the past 2 years. That's over with. We got to get that over with, man. I got to get back to talking trash like I like to.
Indeed. What do you think, Will?
Yeah. By the way, I mentioned Grady Jarrett. I got him mixed up with Sheldon Rankins. Rankins actually had a torn Achilles that he's recovering from. So we'll see if he's ready for season starts. But anyways, seemed like since that Thursday night game in Dallas, they never looked like the same team and didn't really close the season that strong. Like the first part of the season, they looked invincible, and I thought the Super Bowl would be theirs to lose. But then that Dallas game, it just seemed like it was a turnaround in their season, and they started going downhill from there. You just look at some of the things Dallas did. They smashed them in the mouth and got physical with them. And I think that's how that physical styles of play. That's how you have to handle finesse teams like that. So I expect them to regress a little bit. Father Time's undefeated. Drew Brees is held up against it pretty well, but you start to see him hopefully fall back a little bit next year. Alvin Kamara hasn't proven that he can handle the full-time workload by himself. So with the loss of Mark Ingram, I think that's going to be more significant than a lot of people are making it out to be. And I just look at that Monday night game when the Panthers played the Saints. Everything was clicking on all cylinders. That's the best I've seen the defense look in years. Just something happened when Ron Rivera took over that play calling. He just seemed like he just out-coached Sean Payton that night. So I think if we can pick up where we left off from there, I think we'll have a good chance of ending that streak against them and turning the tables.
Yeah, I definitely, think that by Rivera taking over the defensive play calling, that he's finally learning to play chess. I think Rivera's been playing checkers with Sean Payton and Dan Quinn the last few years, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are catching more L's than W's against these two high-powered offenses. But I definitely think that, if when you go back and look at that Monday night game, the Saints still had a lot to play for. They had a chance to still play for the number 1 seed overall. Because the Rams were like right on their heels. So it's not like they came into Charlotte, without nothing to play for. They needed to win just as bad as we did to end our streak at the time. I think it was 5 games at the time, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that, as far as a preview between the Panthers and Saints, I think that we're going to be able to match up with whatever offensive personnel that Sean Payton comes up with. I'm going to love looking forward to Ron Rivera versus Sean Payton as far as the head coaches trading wits with each other, playing chess. I think Payton's been doing it longer, but I think Ron's ready to reintroduce himself as a top-notch defensive mind, and I like the moves that we've made as well to match up with whatever they do. They want to spread us out, fine, we'll spread with you. You want to try to, man up and grab some nuts and try to pound it, hey, we're going to pound right back with you. So now that Ron's playing chess, I feel a lot better playing against the Saints.
Agree with all your sentiments, man. Totally agree. So, I think guys did a good job, man, covering the NFC South. I hope this gives our fans a better outlook of what our closest opponents look like going into the 2019 season. Anything that we left out, you can always send us a message, DM us, write it on our page, email us, whatever you got to do if you feel like you left anything out. One new segment that we're gonna have, and we want you guys to interact with is All Out Blitz, where you can pretty much ask us any kind of question you want, not even football related. If you want to know what Kevin's favorite food is, or what he likes to do in the off season, whatever it is, just ask us a question. We like to let you guys get to know us the best that we can. Just a preview of it tonight. I got a couple of questions that some fans asked me. One of the biggest Panther fans I know, y'all might know him, but his name is AJ Allen.
AJ.
He asked, "Is this Shaq Thompson's make or break year?" I'll let one of y'all answer that one.
Let's just say really quick, absolutely. No TD. It's your show, kid. In my opinion, absolutely. That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in a contract year, final. We picked up his 5th-year option, let TD walk, so he's not looking over his shoulder anymore. We got a new scheme that'll let him play downhill more. He's not going to have to cover slot receivers in space like we've had him do in the past. I mean, everything's built for him to succeed this year, so I think he will take that next step. Now, I'm not one. I think he's played well since we drafted him. As Panther fans, we're used to elite-level linebackers, so we're holding them to that Luke and TD standard, which, those are rare breeds. But, Shaq's a solid player himself. I think he just needs to focus on being the best Shaq Thompson he could be this year.
What you think, Kev?
Me, I've been a Shaq Thompson fan from day one. I think that, now I hate that it took to his 5th year for him to finally have the opportunity to do what he needs to do. But I look forward, and I think he's going to take advantage of it. I mean, we saw several stretches last season, when he played just strictly linebacker. I mean, whether it was, stuffing the run, whether it was coming off the end, blitzing. I mean, he showed that he can be a very effective 3-down linebacker in this Panther defense. No more, covering, slot wide receivers. I want to see him, go head to head with running backs in the backfield and, checking these tight ends as well. I think that he gonna elevate his game, and he's gonna, show what he's really all about and earn that contract extension that he's playing for. But definitely, I like his versatility. So whether we do the 4-3 or the 3-4 philosophy, primarily a lot of nickel packages, I think that he can be lined up pretty much anywhere and be a playmaker for us. So I'm definitely excited about what Shaq Thompson's going to do for us on the field. He's a great locker room guy, and I think he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. So, I know a lot of people felt some kind of way about that $9 million option being picked up, but, this guy played 3 positions his first 4 years. Let's leave him at linebacker, which is what he was originally drafted to do, and let's see what he can do.
I agree with y'all for the most part. I looked at his contract. I know we picked up his option, so you're paying him a lot of money this year. I just want to see the results. You got some people that are concerned about if he fits the new scheme and stuff like that. So I think he has a lot of doubters to prove wrong. It seems like that linebacker group is a big question mark. A lot of people have concerns, and that kind of leads into the last question that we got from one of our most loyal followers, which is Dennis Harden. He said, with the change coming in our defensive alignment, what LB, not DN or edge, will benefit most from the change? Also, how do you see us utilizing the new LB group since last season in this scheme?
Interesting.
Well, I think the inside linebackers will be Luke and Shaq. And rotating with them, you got Carter, Jermaine Carter, Andre Smith, and special teams, Jared Norris. So I think those will be your 5 inside linebackers in the new scheme. It's hard to say. I think in pass coverage, the scheme will benefit everybody because you can be more unpredictable with your pressure. And what does Luke and Shaq do what does Luke in particular do very well? He undercuts passing lanes and is able to get interceptions. So in the passing game, I think we could potentially see Luke get back to being that turnover machine in pass coverage. Against the run, I'll admit I am a bit concern because you have one less body on the front line to protect Luke. So he's going to probably be hand fighting with offensive linemen more often than usual. But, with this becoming a passing league now, I just don't know if it's as big as a concern in 2019 as it would have been in 2012. So overall, I just think the priority needs to be generating pass pressure. And I think if they do that, it'll benefit everybody on the defense.
Yeah, and one more thing about Shaq, people having concerns about his size. When to play inside linebacker, whenever we do the 30 front, 3-4 looks. I mean, as far as weight goes, it's not even a 10-pound difference between him and Luke. I think Shaq is coming in around 233, 234, and I think Luke's right around 240, if that much. So as far as from a size point of view, I don't think that Shaq's going to be it. This is not the days of, Levon Kirkland, 265-pound, saying inside linebackers in a 3-4. He'll be, a 3 technique in today's NFL. So everybody, gets so stuck on, certain 30 front or 40 front. I think he's going to be just fine for us.
Keep in mind, one of the more successful defenses in that 30 front is the Rams. Their inside linebacker was Mark Barron, a converted safety from Alabama. So, I mean, the league has changed, man. We just got to I'm still learning stuff every day myself. We just got to kind of evolve to the new NFL where linebackers are basically safeties. Safeties are cornerbacks. Cornerbacks are track stars. I mean, it's just the league's changing so much.
Yeah, it's about skill set, man. It's. I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, as far as other guys in the linebacker core, I think it's going to be affected with this change. I'm going back to our 4th round pick from 2018, Marquise Haynes. Ole Miss pretty much played, a 3-4 philosophy when he was there. We're talking about someone that's their all-time, sack leader when he left. So I'm definitely looking forward to him performing for us in these hybrid fronts. He's someone that I'm definitely eager to see what he can do. I think him going back to more of his natural position is going to allow him to bring out, his best. Also, I look forward to see what the other linebackers are going to do as well. Jermaine Carter Jr. and Andre Smith. I'm definitely, high on particularly Smith, coming from Tar Heel Nation, you know what I'm saying? But I really think as far as scheme fit, I think he's someone that can play either inside or outside linebacker for us, depending on how the reps and how the scheme unfolds. I think that we got some versatility with our linebacker core that a lot of fans are not aware of, that now that Rivera's calling plays, you're going to see guys making plays that you would think were playmakers. Well, they're finally being put in position to succeed. And I think that was one of the big reasons for Rivera making this change to a hybrid front. He wanted to give all the players that he has on defense a chance to do what they do best. And I think this move will provide dividends for the defense overall.
Yeah, I think we'll still see a fair share of 4-3, and that'll give a good opportunity for Smith and Carter to battle for that third outside linebacker position. So, so many things you could do with this personnel.
Just to touch on what Kev was speaking about as far as the competition goes, don't forget we got an undrafted guy out of California. That's Ron's alma mater. His name is Jordan Kanasic. He'll probably be competing for special teams, but if you watch some of his film, even Cal ran that hybrid front, with like a 3-4 or 4-3. He was all over the field. Stood out a lot in coverage as well. Can make some plays downhill. So that's somebody that's going to be competing Jermaine Carter's and Andre Smith. So there's a lot of competition in there, just to answer Dennis Harton's question for tonight. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited about the new front. I'm excited about the linebackers we have. I don't really have any concerns about the transition personally. I think 3-4 can actually benefit a guy like Luke Kuechly because, you got your big nose tackle commanding a double team from center guard. You got basically 2-5 techniques that, might need some help. You might have to double them in a run game, whether it be, Obata, Cox, or even if you put Love or KK in there. So, I think that the defensive linemen are going to actually open things up for our two inside linebackers, and I expect a big year from all of them, to be honest with you, whether it's Shaq, Luke. I think this actually benefit them in a lot of ways. But that was just, just to answer Dennis's question. That was a very good question. And, Panther Nation, just keep on sending them in. Every episode we'll try to address some of the questions you might have, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the email to send your questions to, if you decide to email us, of course you can go like Larry said, you can DM us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. But our email address is the4manrush@gmail.com. The4manrush@gmail.com. All right, so fellas, what else do we have to talk about tonight? I know OTAs just kicked off, but I'm not sure there's a lot of news coming out of the camp on that. Is there?
Well, as far as any news, got some sad news today.
Yes.
One of our personal long shot favorites to make the team this year, wide receiver Mose Frazier, suffered a broken arm today in OTAs. Now, with OTAs being non-contact, I'm curious to see, what led to that. But either way, I hate that for him. He was already going to be a long shot for him to make the roster, but I think of all the long shots, he had the best chance. This was his third season, with the Panthers, so he knows the playbook. He pretty much led if I'm not mistaken, he led the NFL in the preseason as far as receiving touchdowns last year. So he's definitely someone that can definitely provide options at that last wide receiver spot, that number 6 spot. So we definitely wish Mose Frazier a speedy recovery. I know everybody heals differently, but we know when Demir Bird broke his arm, he was back after his 8 weeks on a short-term IR. So if we just want to use that for conversation piece as a time frame, he's having surgery tomorrow. 8 weeks from that will be July 22nd. So training camp is probably going to open up around July 25th time frame. So Mose Frazier could be ready to return for us, depending on how his recovery and rehab go, just in time to start training camp. So definitely hope that he makes a full recovery and can go in here and fight for his spot.
Yeah, keep pounding, Mose. Keep pounding, bro.
Yeah, as far as OTAs go, man, I think it's just a little bit early for me. I'll probably get more news tomorrow, be able to touch more on it. I did see one clip, with Brian Burns. I know Will pointed it out to me, but we got to see like a little bit of a preview of how that front is going to look in the 30. You had Burns at the edge, and we kind of saw Obata at the 5 technique, and we were able to see Cox Jr. at the other one. So just a little preview. That's all I was able to pick up on, but I should have a lot more to talk about, next episode as far as how OTAs went.
Yeah, the media wasn't invited to today's session, so we couldn't really see a lot of the clips, get an idea of what they're doing. But tomorrow, I think it's the first day the media is going to be invited, so we'll get to see all of the reports from all the Twitter accounts and snippets. So we'll have a lot more next week.
Good deal. Well, all right, gentlemen.
Oh,
go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one last thing, a quick tidbit. Probably more as a camp body, but a long shot. I was thinking that we also got Chubb's brother. I think it's Brandon Chubb from Wake Forest, 6'1", 245 linebacker. I mean, if he got any of his brother who played for the Denver Broncos playmaking ability in him, he's someone I definitely think we need to also keep our eye on as someone that could possibly sneak in as that 6th linebacker on this team. So keep your eye on as well. We're looking for pass rushers and guys that can make the change at 6'1", 245. Like I said, if he's anything like his brother, we could have a possible hidden gem. But as now, camp body, but stay tuned.
Well, all right, Panther fans. I believe the 4-Man Rush has concluded their episode and giving you guys a wealth of information on what's coming up in the NFC South and pretty much what's going on with the Panthers in general. So, on behalf of myself, Timmy V.O., Kevin, Larry, and Will, and of course the fellas behind the scenes and our blog writers, enjoy your evening, and as always, keep pounding.
I'm just taking time to really let it breathe. So baby, just chill. She love it, we out in public and we can just chill with my partners, and we can go back to my crib and just chill under covers and do we call me and you lovers, cause I just...
The Four-Man Rush is brought to you by the love and respect of and for the Carolina Panthers and Carolina Panther fans everywhere. Keep pounding. The Four-Man Rush is a non-affiliate of the Carolina Panther organization. All thoughts, assessments, and content of this podcast is directly related to the Four-Man Rush exclusively. Thank you.